Imagine you're deep into a visually stunning, narrative-driven game, one that has been years in the making. The graphics are breathtaking, the story is gripping, and the characters feel so real, it's as if they could step off the screen. This is what you get with a Sony AAA title, a gaming experience that rivals blockbuster movies in terms of scope and ambition. But while these games often receive critical acclaim and win numerous awards, there's a growing concern. Could Sony's focus on these high-budget epics be holding them back in building long-lasting, multi-generational franchises? Let's explore how Sony's emphasis on AAA games might be limiting their broader success and what they could learn from other gaming giants. Sony has built its reputation on delivering some of the most cinematic and immersive gaming experiences available. Games like The Last of Us, God of War, and Horizon Zero Dawn are prime examples. These titles are narrative-driven, featuring complex characters, expansive worlds, and production values that rival Hollywood films. They are, without a doubt, impressive achievements in the gaming industry. However, the AAA model comes with significant risks. These games often take years to develop and require enormous budgets, sometimes reaching hundreds of millions of dollars. While a successful release can bring in substantial revenue and accolades, the stakes are incredibly high. A single underperforming title can have serious financial repercussions, putting immense pressure on developers and limiting the number of new projects Sony can pursue at any given time. One of the biggest challenges with Sony's focus on AAA titles is longevity. While these games often leave a lasting impression, their narrative-driven nature means that once the story is experienced, there's less incentive for players to return. Unlike games with strong multiplayer modes or endless replayability, AAA titles tend to have a shorter shelf life. This short-lived glory can be problematic when trying to build franchises that stand the test of time. Consider Nintendo's Mario or Zelda series. These franchises have thrived for decades, not just because of their initial success, but because they offer gameplay experiences that can be enjoyed repeatedly by players of all ages over many years. These games become part of the cultural fabric, passed down from one generation to the next. In contrast, Sony's AAA games, while often brilliant, don't lend themselves as easily to this kind of multi-generational appeal. Sony's emphasis on high-budget, narrative-driven games also limits their ability to create franchises that resonate across multiple generations. When parents introduce their children to gaming, they often start with titles that are accessible, family-friendly, and replayable, qualities that aren't typically associated with Sony's AAA offerings. Nintendo, on the other hand, has mastered the art of creating games that appeal to all ages. Characters like Mario, Link, and Pikachu are familiar to both parents and children, creating a cycle of brand loyalty that extends across generations. These games are not only fun and engaging, but also approachable, allowing younger players to experience them without feeling overwhelmed. Sony's portfolio, by contrast, is filled with mature, complex titles that may not be as suitable for younger audiences, potentially missing out on the opportunity to build that multi-generational connection. The high production values of AAA games are both a blessing and a curse. On the one hand, they allow Sony to create visually stunning worlds and tell stories with incredible depth. On the other hand, these production values come at a steep cost, both financially and creatively. The need to recoup large budgets often means playing it safe, relying on established franchises rather than experimenting with new ideas. This focus on blockbuster titles can stifle creativity and innovation, as developers are pressured to deliver commercial successes. It also means that Sony can only release a limited number of games each year, as each project requires significant resources and time. In contrast, companies like Nintendo can produce a broader range of games, including smaller, experimental titles, because their development costs are generally lower, and their focus is on gameplay over graphics. To build long-lasting, multi-generational franchises, Sony might consider adopting some strategies from their competitors. For instance, they could invest more in games that prioritize replayability and accessibility, creating titles that can be enjoyed by a broader audience. Introducing characters and worlds that appeal to both children and adults could help Sony establish franchises with the kind of staying power that Nintendo enjoys. Additionally, diversifying their portfolio with a mix of AAA titles and smaller, more experimental games could help Sony reduce their reliance on a few big hits. This approach would allow them to explore new ideas and potentially discover the next big franchise without the immense pressure that comes with AAA development. Sony's focus on AAA games has undoubtedly produced some of the most memorable and impactful titles in gaming history. However, this emphasis on high-budget, narrative-driven experiences may also be limiting their ability to build long-lasting, multi-generational franchises. By balancing their portfolio with more accessible, replayable games and embracing the potential for cross-generational appeal, Sony could ensure that their characters and worlds endure for decades to come. As the gaming industry continues to evolve, the companies that succeed will be those that can create not just great games, but games that become a lasting part of our culture. For Sony, the challenge will be finding a way to balance their impressive AAA offerings with the kind of broad, enduring appeal that turns a game into a legacy. If you found this exploration of Sony's gaming strategy insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content delving into the world of gaming and entertainment. Let's keep the conversation going as we explore how the gaming industry continues to evolve and shape our culture.